Well, hello, that's me again. Today, the 1st of October, and you know why I am making my video and talking to you today, obviously. But let's start first with things which people will be continuing to ask, and here it is. Let's take a look at this first. And here it is. Russian military forces withdraw from key Donbass city. Military. The troops had to leave the city of Krasny Liman due to the threat of encirclement, Moscow has confirmed. The fight around Liman was happening for the last few weeks, actually, and the losses of the Ukrainian army there were just horrendous. But evidently they were using up to 12,000 people as of today to trying to break through or trying to encircle the Krasny Liman, and in order not to allow the small contingent of Russian troops, primarily Donbass and Lugansk militias actually, to be encircled and taking the road to Svatova and Kremenaya to be under control, fire control of the Ukrainian forces. Russian command decided to withdraw that, and that's about it. But let's take a look at the other news, and here it is. Here's Mr. Blinken today. Nord Stream explosions are a tremendous opportunity. Washington can now step in as Europe's top supplier of LNG, the Biden administration explained. And this was explained by none other than Mr. Anthony Blinken, and it's in the news and things of this nature. So, you may say, well, the situation is not really good, right? Well, actually it's not. It's a completely different story when you look at the facts, and let me explain to you what I am on record for, many months now, well, in reality, actually for many years. Minutiae, oh my God, those details, those small details, those things which are happening in the small location and people concentrate on this. Exactly. Why do you use minutiae very often? Especially we're talking about our world today, which is saturated with people with zero backgrounds and anything, and especially with the journalists, 90% of whom would know shit from Shinola, which is basically a euphemism for incompetent and ignorant people. Well, very simple, my friends. Most of the time, it is used to basically steal the thunder. You may ask me, what thunder should we talking about? Let me explain. Especially it is important explaining in the under circumstances where, for example, West's policies are basically primarily about PR and re-election cycles. And here it is. This is what is this all about. This is what they were afraid of from the get-go, and this is the thunder. As you know, Vladimir Putin spoke yesterday, and he spoke both in the main Kremlin palace, and he spoke to the massive crowd celebrating new territories and new people. And that's what is this all about. So guess what? And here is the main issue. People are bound, it's inevitable, bound to be drowned in minutiae, at least 90% of the people, especially people who do not have background. But let me explain. On the 30th of October, Vladimir Putin signed the accession, which some people called it annexation. Well, technically it is annexation, but of the 4 new oblasts of former Ukraine to Russia. As it turned out, I was a little bit on the short side when I said that it was about 1.5 times larger territory than Benelux. As it turned out, it wasn't 105,000, it was 120,000 square kilometers and more than 5.5 million people joining Russia. They will officially join by the October 4th, when the Russian State Duma will finally basically validate and vote on those documents. But Vladimir Putin signed them on the 30th, and it's a done deal. And until the 4th, and on the 4th, it will be completed. Well, we are talking about the half of the Great Britain being joined to Russia, and a huge number of people, millions of people joining Russia. Now, Russians withdrew from the town of the population of around 18,000 people, which is Krasny Liman, and people who begin to apply the World War II lessons to this, and they better start thinking twice, if not more, if they're really doing themselves any kind of service by trying to apply what was happening in World War II and what is happening right now. And that's the whole thing. Now compare Red Liman, which Mr. Zelensky wanted to be taken before the vote and before the referenda and before Putin signed those papers. Guess why? PR reasons. Militarily it changes very little, except for some people now in Krasny Liman who will be tortured, who will be imprisoned, will be killed by armed forces of Ukraine and their NATO allies, but that's what they're good at only, and throwing the bunch of corpses at their basically Russian guns and Russian soldiers. But compare now, right? We're talking about 120,000 square kilometers of the territory and basically more than, well, people say it's around 6 million people joining Russia, and the loss of the small town under 20,000 people. Temporary loss. So think yourself, what weighs more? What is more important strategically, politically, and geopolitically? You probably already know the answer. I mean, one has to be a complete moron not to understand what is this all about. So here we are, we're looking at not just on the geopolitical victory of the immense scale, and this is just the start, this is warm-up. Ukraine will be disassembled actually completely, and we know now that the forces are being readied for that. But, and then you have this situation, Nord Stream is being blown up, this Liman, you know, week after week, wave after wave of corpses. Basically corpses, you know, Ukraine throws at that. Guess why? To basically obscure, to obfuscate the situation which actually Vladimir Putin described extremely well in his speech to basically people and main Kremlin palace, and the speech which became absolutely most important geopolitical speech of this century. And that's the whole thing. And just to demonstrate to you what it is, I will tell you immediately. Ukraine, as you know, already applied for NATO, right? I mean, they created this ceremony with Zelensky and two of his stooges signing some paper, but immediately after that, no less than Mr. Jake Sullivan and White House response to this Ukraine NATO request, and they explain, but now is the wrong time to consider Ukraine membership application. President Joe Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, said on Friday. Yeah, obviously, if United States and NATO want to commit suicide, and they constantly create this absolutely insane PR and informational environment, and they even tell that Russians for some reason need to use the nuclear weapon, if they want to create a real World War III and a real nuclear conflict, they certainly can do that. They can apply, you know, allow the applications, but evidently even those people, they have their kind of red lines. They want to leave. What's worth their power and money they accumulate through bribes and you know, just theft, downright theft, if you cannot use them? Absolutely. Russia is the only country in the world which can wipe the United States off the map within 20 minutes. Even China cannot do that. China can deal a horrendous damage, obviously, but only Russia and the United States can kill all life on the earth 6 times over. So there you go. So how do you do the whole policy, so to speak, thing when you deal with this situation? Very simple, you obfuscate. You continually do something for the PR. You continue to try to do something to obfuscate, to screen, to hide the great meaning of what is happening. But the great meaning of what is happening is very simple, and you cannot truly spin that easily, this whole situation, because obviously the Vladimir Putin's speech on the accession of the 4 oblasts to Russian Federation of the former Ukraine is now being circulated all over the internet and all over the agencies. And those news agencies who still employ real journalists and who still care about how to present the situation around the world. And it is clear, I mean, it cannot get any clearer than that. The West, the combined West, is called by Putin. And again, keep in mind, Putin is not talking from himself. He is talking about on behalf of Russian people, overwhelming majority of Russian people, Russian nation, and people, those smaller people, nations, which create this whole meaning, the term of Russian people. And he's called combined West as satanic, specifically their elites. I mean, if not, this is not a declaration of the war. I'm sorry, guys. Just read his speech attentively. I'm not going to be quoting him much here in this video because there is no need. The speech is available. I will leave the link, the courtesy of Mr. Bernard from Moon of Alabama, to the text file of the speech. Read it yourself. It is the open declaration of the war against this, what Putin calls the satanic regimes, who also operate and act not against people of the outside their combined West. They also suppress and, torture literally, economically, and psychologically their own people. And that's what is this all about. And we can sit here and continue to discuss or interpret anything any way we want. But truth is, Ukraine is one of the battlefields which now, important one, absolutely important one, where the West is continuing to sustain one defeat after another. And let me tell you, neither White House nor Brussels were ready to face what Russia did by declaring the referendum, which was in preparation, by the way. And those referenda gave Russia their massive geopolitical leverage and obviously created a huge whirlpool, so to speak, of rumors, interpretations, and speculations. But truth is and remains, Russia has officially written Europe off. And that's not Putin's position. This is position of Russian people. That's what many people still don't get it. Putin speaks on behalf of Russian people and continues to have immensely high approval rating, including immensely high approval rating for, well, it's special military operation, but eventually we might see some kind of the transition into what could be termed as the counter-terrorist operation, because now, well, technically it's still not Russia. It will become technically Russia. Those new 4 oblasts, they will become on the 4th, I believe. You can look it up and correct me if I'm wrong. But it will be on the 4th of October when State Duma will approve the results and signature of Vladimir Putin, and they officially will be joined. Russia will officially join them, and they will become the separate, probably district, not just a different oblast, but separate district. And then, yes, then they will be the part of Russia, and Russia will have to deal now with the defeating the, well, it's not counterinsurgency, it's essentially invasion of Russia by foreign power. And that's what many people do not understand. That's what they get lost in that minutia. They cannot still kind of get their head out of this kind of, above the surface of this whirlpool and opaque stream of their information, and they begin to panic, they begin to get lost, and they get disoriented, while in reality, as I already stated, and I stress it again, and I want to stress it more, Vladimir Putin is absolutely specific in his speech when he says that actually it was Anglo-Saxondom, which actually speaking, of course, Anglo-Saxondom, we mean United States and Great Britain and the other Five Eye countries, which played a crucial role in blowing those Nord Stream pipelines. But Russians do not worry about it because, yeah, it's unpleasant, as I already stated, but for Russians, Nord Streams are not crucial. They are important in terms of making money, but again, most of the transition of the gas and other products of this nature, including oil, have been already transferred primarily to the east, to China, India, other countries. And when you look at this now, it is clear that basically Europe, as Pepe Escobar properly assessed it, Europe was handed down the declaration of war by the United States. And that's what is this all about. And as I already stated, Mr. Blinken was talking about the great possibility for and opportunity for United States to supply their liquefied natural gas to Europe. Hey, good luck. Good luck. Everybody knows what it means. It means the killing and the industrialization of Europe. Russia is not going to do move a finger now to help Europe, except for the countries which did write and did sign their long-term contracts, such as obviously Hungary and Serbia. Other than that, let Europeans deal with it. And that's what many people don't understand. Putin's speech was from the get-go about the break up with the West. It was the end. Russia is not viewed by Russians anymore as a European country, because Russians do not want to have anything to do with what Putin says absolutely satanic values. And these values have been basically, accepted by the European population. And Europe becomes the, so to speak, if anybody thinks that Europe becomes the battlefield between Russia and the United States, I don't think so. It will be correct to state it this way, because it's not really a battlefield. While Vladimir Putin definitely mentions people, and many people actually, they are minority, but they are significant minority in the West, who are definitely, they do share all European values, and they absolutely not Russophobic, they're not anti-Russian, and Russia will certainly communicate with those people, but for the most part, Europe did it to itself. I mean, when you have people like Mr. Macron and this new gal Meloni from Italy now squabbling and, hurling their accusations and insults to each other, this is just the start, guys. They're cold, and even the hunger is coming. And the United States did it to yourself. You did it to yourself, and obviously with the help of the United States. And hey, enjoy, and that's the whole point. People will say, oh, you're cynical, don't, kind of write us off. How can I not write anybody off? Because Europe was electing their, those lackeys of NATO and the United States for decades. It is what it is. From 1960s, the whole myth of this incredible Germany's economy or European economy was built based on the Soviet Union at that time and Russian pipelines, which were pumping this affordable energy to Germany, to other countries, to UK even, to France, to what have you. Italy. So it was that energy which created, in a larger sense, the European, what they called, quasi-socialism and fairly good standard of living. But it was also the basically foundation on which this whole contempt to people outside grew, because they thought that they were just that good. No, Europeans were good. There is a lot of technical and technological genius, inventive, genius and things of this nature. But you know what? Remove the energy and you will see yourself what is happening. And now they're in full-blown panic. And I want to reiterate the point which I'm making all the time. And even for the United States, what is not understood by those people, and I all call on you to read Michael Hudson's latest incredible piece. He sent it to me. I posted it on my blog, and it's posted on the Naked Capitalism. Read it. It explains to you that those people in Washington, D.C., and those elites, both in Europe and the United States, they are one-trick ponies. They know only how to make money out of the thin air. That means printing them pretty much. And they only know how to rob others. But Vladimir Putin's speech on the 30th, yesterday, was very simple. It stops now. And that's what's going to happen. And that's where I will be making probably my next video, because I'm so sick and tired talking about this constant tactical minutia. Yeah, this, company goes here and that battalion just moved around and... Yeah, guys, have patience, for crying out loud. We are looking at the global conflict. And the global conflict is about substituting, which is happening as I talk to you, the collapsing piece of crap Pax Americana, which is responsible for millions of deaths, misery, economic dislocation for billions of people. And we're talking about substitution with something more just and something truly democratic and something based on the classic values of people who lived, in different areas of the world much longer than the United States exists as a country. Russia alone is more than 1,000 years old. Chinese Who knows? 5,000 years old. Look at India's civilization. It is ancient. Look at the Iranians, Persian civilization. United States as newcomer. And European domination, and indeed some values which I, as a Westerner, I'm a Western man by many metrics, but I'm talking about Western man, European man by the Europe which existed. And that means I would also take very close to my heart the values of the Enlightenment, which, by the way, Russians take, and that's one of the reasons, because all those Enlightenment values have been completely discredited, and they had their flow wiped with them in the modern Europe. But what is happening right now, 500 years of European prosperity and domination is over. And by European, I mean combined West. United States cannot fight Russia. And they are afraid to do so, and that is why they reject Ukraine bid to join NATO. And if you look attentively at the events which are happening in general, we can, how to put it, even Spiegel, Spiegel International tells you about, and which is the last month, how bad will the German recession be, and they describe to you that it will be so bad that pretty much we might actually, if you look attentively and take this article and read it, we're looking at actual deindustrialization of Germany to such a degree that, my gosh, it's difficult even to say what it's going to be. It's going to be the basically a realization of Morgenthau plan, which was delivered to Eisenhower in 1945, where Morgenthau wanted Germans to tend, and I quote, tend beets field. Well, while not as far as that, but it's certainly on the way there. And will Germany become the agricultural nation? I don't know. Germany doesn't have own energy. It depends on Russia for fertilizers. And even Vladimir Putin stated that all this bullshit about Ukrainian grain, only 5% of this grain went to the poor countries of the world. 95% of it went to Europe. So, and that's what is this all about. Russia officially declared the war on the combined West in terms that combined West as it exists, it has to be destroyed, and it will be destroyed. And that is why so much effort on the part of this huge Western PR machine of basically either providing the outright disinformation or misinterpretation or spin, because they need to obfuscate the fact that basically the real earnest demolition of Ukraine has started, and tactical minutiae is used merely to distract people, to take the attention away from really horrendous facts of the American economic and political reality, and not to speak about Europe. And again, Europe is done, it's over. And I know for some people, and many of my listeners from Europe, it will be painful to listen. But let me tell you one thing. I have a number of good friends of mine, and including the friends from, let's say, Germany, and friends who are not your regular lay people. They were very high at the hierarchy, political, financial hierarchy of Germany. And their opinion is very simple, conveyed to me in our private conversations, and it is very simple. Until Europeans sense and feel on their own skin what it is to live in the third world, they will not understand, they will not change opinions. But that is what is coming, and United States, this is another miscalculation United States is making, because they think that Europe will maintain its ability to pay for those products which United States hopes to basically sell in the European market. They don't understand that it will shrink dramatically. Actually, it's already shrinking dramatically, and it will shrink even more. Russians knew that. And Vladimir Putin, after seeing what is happening around Ukraine and what is happening in Europe, and seeing that United States resorted to plain simple terrorism, not that it's something new about United States, but I mean, in blowing the pipelines, well, my friends, make your own conclusions. His speech was, it's over between Russia and the West. Russia goes her own way, but going her own way, she will make sure that the huge Eurasian economic space is unified, and that the basically Western dominion, so to speak, and dominance will be completely destroyed. And that's why I needed to talk to you about it. And again, I had to constantly, relate those things and explain those things about which are indeed minutiae, minute details, which mean very little in the larger scheme of things. Now, before I go, I have to state for some people who are the fans of Mr. Jordan Peterson, they evidently misunderstood completely what I was conveying. When I spoke about him, recall that what I touched upon, I only touched upon his issues related to Russia. And I will repeat again, Mr. Peterson knows shit about Russia, and that is why he's writing to the forewords to Solzhenitsyn's basically books, or he's expressing opinions about Russia absolutely useless. Having said all that, have you heard anything me tell you about that Mr. Peterson is a bad clinical psychologist? No. I cannot pass judgment on that. I never stated that. I think so he's great. And if his work and his communications, his speeches help many people, God bless his soul. I cannot pass judgment on something I don't know. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I just have zero background in that. And that is why I couldn't possibly pass judgment in this respect to Mr. Jordan Peterson. And if he helps millions of people, as I already stated, God bless his soul. But pardon me, when people speak bullshit about something they don't know about, this is precisely why I don't speak about clinical psychology, because I don't know about it. So allow me to call them, for that. And believe me, I know about Russia a little bit more than Mr. Peterson ever will. And that was my point. But people evidently, as always, having the preconception already in their brains. They do not hear or do not read properly what is being told or delivered to them, and they begin to generalize and do these broad brush conclusions, when in reality I pointed only one thing. The fanboy of Solzhenitsyn is a litmus test, and Mr. Peterson is a fanboy of Solzhenitsyn. That automatically means those people know nothing about real Russian history and know nothing about the 20th century Russian history. So they cannot possibly pass any competent judgment or assessment on this issue. And Mr. Peterson absolutely proved me absolutely correct. He has no clue what he's talking about. Other than that, God bless people if he is of help to you and helps you to deal with a lot of grievances we all have, and a lot of complexes and a lot of issues in your life. God bless his soul. Let him help you. And I simply don't know if it works or not. I'm not a specialist. I don't talk about those issues. So that's what I wanted to tell you about Mr. Peterson. And that will be my conclusion for today. And again, as I stated, you plan one thing and then you have the whole other thing happening. After 24 hours, you plan for one thing and you have to do another thing. So guys, this is my talk for you today. And again, for those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel, and those who can afford, support me on the Patreon. And have the nice weekend, guys. I will be talking to you later. Bye bye.